Good afternoon, everyone. Happy race day. A little bit later again, kind of like last week. Just waiting on Dane here. He is traveling home, so I wanted to get started. You can listen to me blabber on while I share the link. I just need to find that now, and then we will get started here in shortly. We are at Sonoma Raceway today. We've got another road course race. Awesome. We got extra of those this year. We're back to Sonoma. They didn't race at Sonoma last year. Okay, there's the link. So they took the year off with the COVID. So this year they're back at Sonoma. We've got a lot of info to go over, so we will get to that. I'm just going to share the link here in a couple spots, and then Dane should be with us here in about 5 minutes for anyone that is watching. Share that there. We'll send that out on Patreon. Got some big news with Patreon this week that I will discuss as well. Dane and I get his thoughts on it as well. Sharing it to Patreon. And then we got a couple of chats here. I'll share it here. And over here. If you guys are on Twitter, any likes and shares, retweets, things like that really do help. Really appreciate that as well. Almost ready. And as always, throw all your questions in the chat. We will get to them. Both of us are scrolling through them. So if we don't get to them right away, we will be scrolling back and going over questions. I've got about 12 tabs open at once here. So I'm not watching the questions all at once, but I am going back like every 30 seconds or a minute to make sure. Make sure to get those questions off, and we will help you out because there is some different strategies with road courses, which we looked at. We weren't live for the last one at the Circuit of the Americas, but we will take care of you here today with some strategy and with some other stuff here. So what you're seeing right now, just while we wait for Dane, I've got the sheet. I'm going to bring my pretty face over here into the corner so we are ready for when Dane pops in. And we'll share this there. Okay, we have got that all shared. This is good. This is good. We're moving now. Good afternoon. Hey, David, how's it going today? Who's your pick to win? Going to say good morning, but it's actually good afternoon. Funny story. Yesterday, I was up very early, out and around town doing stuff, and I said good afternoon about 3 times before 10 o'clock in the morning. So, start off to a good start today. All right. Just waiting on Dane still here, so I am going to flip this over. We'll share the sheet here. First thing we're going to look at, let's go over, I added some stuff to the fantasy matrix here, so I will click on that and I will show you that. What I added was points. It just kind of shows you, we've talked about the fantasy matrix, how we go about comparing driver A to driver B. It looks at, obviously, the place differential. This is for DraftKings only. But what I've added here, if you're familiar with it, is how many points each driver needs for 4x, 5x, and 6x. So something I talked about in chat early this week was, I'm just going to bring that up here. I looked at some data from the road courses. Obviously, there's only 90 laps in this race. The other 2 races so far, did I switch that over? I did. Okay, so far, just going to find that. There was 70, and here we go. 3 drivers finished top 10 in both those races. Joey Logano was 3rd and 2nd. Alex Bowman was 8th and 10th. Michael McDowell was the 3rd one, 7th and 8th. So he's been excellent on these road courses. He kind of comes from a road coursing background, so that's to be expected. 3 drivers had, looking at average run, had an average run inside the top 10, which is something I like to look at as well. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, and Chase Elliott. So of those 3 that finished top 10 in both races, Joey Logano was the only one that had an average run inside the top 10, and then Kyle Larson and Elliott were in there as well. There were 10 drivers at the Daytona road course, and I'm just going to flip the tab over here and we will look at that. So here is those 2 races. The Circuit of the Americas, actually going back to Daytona, they're, where do we have that here? Drivers with double-digit place differential. Okay, so I added this tab just for research here, and we will sort. So as you can see, we had 10 drivers that finished with double-digit place differential at Daytona. If we go look at the race at Coda, we'll sort that one now. We had 7, one driver with 20 plus. So I'm definitely not afraid of place differential today. And if we go and look at the starting positions, we got Martin Truex Jr. probably going to be the highest owned driver, starting 19th. He's won at this track 2 straight, top 5s in 3 of his last 5, and I believe he was running well in there. That would be 2017 as well. So when he's crashed, he's even been running good at these, and he's won this 3 times in the last 7. So started 19th. If we just go look at the fantasy matrix alone, I'm only projecting the top laps leader, and I'll get Dane's opinion once he gets in here, for 40 laps, something like that. We usually only see, if we go look at the Sonoma track history tab, we can see that Martin Truex Jr. in 2019 in his win, he led 59. He dominated that. Yeah, he moved up from 8th very early in that race and pretty much stayed there the whole rest of the way. William Byron led 21. No one else led more than 5. Going back to 2018, Truex won from the second starting position, led 62 laps in that race. Harvick started 6th, finished 2nd, and led 35. No one else had more than 5 laps led in that race. Going back one more, back to 2017, Harvick had 24, Keselowski had 17, Denny Hamlin had 11, and Jimmy Johnson had 12. So it was a little more spread out. But what I'm looking for today is 2 to 3 drivers kind of in that 20 to 40 range. We had a competition caution at lap 10 today. That could change things. Elliott is kind of someone that I see, as you can tell here, leading most of the laps, probably early as well. I can see Truex coming in and leading some late. If I had to pick a third guy to lead laps, I do like what Joey Logano does at these road courses this year, especially. Just like I talked about, he's the only driver to finish top 10 in both road course races this year, as well as have an average run position inside that top 10 as well. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it in terms of dominator versus place differential today. But Joey Logano gives you, as well as Truex, they both give you that access to place differential and dominator points, in my opinion. And then we've got some other drivers. Kurt Busch is going to be very popular starting 30th. If we just go look at him and his history here, he's just massively underpriced starting 30th. He's finished 13th, 6th, 7th, 10th, 2nd, 12th, 4th, 3rd, and 1st in his last 9 races here at Sonoma alone. This year on the road courses, if we jump over, slide back here, and we find Kurt hasn't, he was great at Daytona road course, started 17th, finished 4th, ended up with 53.5 points. That was good to see. Struggled a little bit at the Circuit of the Americas, which is the first time they've been there. So looking at that data, oh, look at that. We've got Dane. So I will just jump over and get him connected here. Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Just making sure we're live here. And I shared it. I was discussing stuff. I see you still got your background up, so that's awesome.
Use the phone. Had to use the phone. Apparently, I got to have a green screen to use it. And it actually worked with the computer, apparently.
Oh, nice. I'm just bringing up the show here to get back into the chat. Can everyone hear and see both of us now that I got this connected? I've never actually started the show and then brought someone in after. I see Mike Gardner. Afternoon, fellas. So I would assume he sees both of us, or maybe a ghost in my background. I'm not quite sure. Mike, how's it going? Who's your pick to win today? Smash that like button. That's right. Thank you, Truce86 man. I'm going to get to my thoughts on Briscoe and Chastain. Like always, we're going to work our way and talk about our core drivers at the top, and then we'll kind of slide down and talk some values for you guys as well. So yeah, Dane, what I opened with, I was just talking about road courses this year, some stats in there. I mentioned some of the stuff, and gals, sorry, Liz, my mistake there. So what I was looking at, just let me bounce back over to this screen. I shared that in chat earlier. I was looking at the 3 drivers that finished top 10 in both road courses this year. I mentioned Logano, Bowman, and McDowell. Then I talked about the 3 drivers that finished had an average run position inside the top 10, which was Larson, Logano, and Elliott. And then I just kind of was talking about looking for 2 dominators, probably maybe even 3 into that 20 to 40 range. We could see, if it does go towards 2 dominators, I like Elliott for the majority and then Truex for the late. But I think we can probably even get 3 in that 20 to 40 range, a little more balanced. And I got Logano as my third. How are you seeing it play out from a place differential versus Dominator Day?
Yeah, similar there. I think the max I'm probably going to have is 2 dominators, unless you can make a team if you count like Harvick as a dominator. I think I'd be fine with that. But I don't necessarily think he has to dominate. If he finishes top 3 or something, he might get enough fast laps instead of just leading the race. So
Right.
I think he could get there in that way. So, yeah, I'm looking for – you can even go just one dominator, play one of the top guys like Chase, and then come down and play a bunch of the place differential guys like Kurt, and then put Harvick in that build, Bell, and guys like that. I think you could jam the mid-range and do it that way too.
Yep. There's definitely a lot of ways to go about building today. So I guess we'll just jump right in. I'm going to share my screen here and then I will jump over. I've found that if I can share my screen with you rather than using my tabs here, you can actually see the sheet as well. Do you see that, Dane?
Yeah, it's loading.
Oh, loading.
Uh-huh.
All right, so we clearly got our favorites here. Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott at the top. I think, like I said, Elliott, I think, can give us some dominator points, can get ahead of Larson early. He's just got that road course experience lately. Obviously, in 2019, he crashed here at this race. Was this the one that he was taken out by Denny Hamlin by chance, or am I thinking of a different race with Elliott? Either way, he's been absolutely dominant on the road courses. Over the last 7 road course races, Chase Elliott has 5 wins, everyone. 5 wins in 7 races on these road courses. By far the most laps led at 228. Up next would be Truex at 74, Byron at 71. And then even the average running position, he's got a 6.7 average run. The next best is Truex at 9.4. No one else is under 11. So it's absolutely amazing. I think you can combine them together. I think it's going to be very chalky because there is a lot of value plays today. So I guess for me, looking at mine and your rankings, I think we both like Truex a little bit more. And I just want to explain why quickly. I'm going to flip over to the matrix here. And this is why this tool is huge. If we maybe had a 1.5-mile track, I think it would be a little closer. I'd be a little more weighed to Elliott with dominator points. But even like I've got here, Elliott at 40 projected laps led, that gives him 56 points for the win. Let's just say he gets 15 fast laps as well, just to throw that into the calculation. So it's almost 63 DK points. Truex with only 20 laps led gets 6 more DK points in that scenario. I don't even have any fast laps in there for him. Even if we take out his projected laps led, and Truex gets 0 dominator points, wins the race, he's got a little bit more upside than Elliott winning the race from second, leading 40 laps with 15 laps led. So I think Truex is my number one. I think you're feeling the same, but do you have any different reasons?
Yeah, I feel very similar. Obviously, I like the floor for him that he provides and the late dominator potential as well. So, yeah, I'm kind of right in line with you there.
Awesome. And then is there anyone else, like for me, Joey Logano stands out just simply because of how good he's been on the road courses this year. He's starting 13th. Like I said, he's the only driver that finished top 10 in both the races so far, road courses this year, and had an average run inside the top 10. So he's been super consistent. He gives you that place differential as well with 20 laps. I'm going to take his laps led out of this calculation here real quick. A win for him would be 57 points, which is just shy. That would be like same as an Elliott leading 40, 15 fast laps and finishing third. So I definitely like Logano as my third in this. Let's just say 9K, 9,500 and up at William Byron there would be mine. Who would be your next favorite kind of in this range?
I don't know that I'm going to have much exposure to anybody else 9,500 and above other than Truex and Chase. I like the mid range a lot, so I don't know how many builds I'm going to have that jams two to three of these guys in. If I had to pick a third, I think I would go Denny starting fourth. I just think he has the upside. But like you said with Logano on road courses this year, he's a fine play as well. I just don't know that I'm going to have much room in my builds for anybody else above 9,500.
Awesome. Just wanted to go over some questions here quick before I have to scroll too far up. We'll just jump into that value range. You know, we're looking at a lot of stars and scrubs. If you're going to jam Elliott and Truex, we're going to be jumping down. So we'll just jump to the first question here. Cody Webb asks, thoughts on Briscoe and Chastain? I know you're really high on Chastain. I'm really interested to hear why, because I'm a little bit off of Chastain myself. So I'll let you go first.
Yeah, are we jumping down to the value that value range?
Yeah, just mainly those two drivers. I just wanted to get that question out of the way here.
Said Briscoe and
Briscoe and
uh,
Chastain, I think like for pricing wise, they're a little bit different. So there's an 800 difference there. If I had to pick between the two myself, it would be Briscoe just because of that discount. But I'm interested to hear why you're high on Chastain, if it's just place differential or.
well, I like I know it's a complete different setup, I guess, for road courses, but I like the way that the car has been running
Mhm.
this year, other than last week. And in his 5 road course races, I mean, he's ran fairly well. He does have a top 5 in that. And I just like the way the car's running. They're kind of gelling together as a team a little bit. So I think starting 29th, yeah, that's the main reason. Gives you the floor. I think he's a top 15 guy. And for that price and that starting position, I'm perfectly fine with that. And the other guy was Briscoe. I like him as well. Starting 25th, he's another guy that I'll definitely have exposure to. Doesn't have a ton of experience on road courses, but top 10 in one of the last 2. So I'll take that. There's a couple other guys I do like a lot, fair bit of value this week, or at least to get exposure and spread it around. So I'm not going to be super heavy on any of these guys as far as 50% or more or anything
Mhm.
like that. But there's plenty of other guys, but I'll let you touch on those 2 first.
Yeah, actually, going back and looking at Briscoe and Chastain, it's kind of interesting because at Daytona Road Course earlier this year, Briscoe started 18th, finished 32nd. Chastain started 9th, finished 39th. So it was terrible for both of them. They turned that right around at the first trip to Coda here. Briscoe started 27th, finished 6th. Chastain 20th, finished 4th, and they were 2 of the ones that had the double-digit place differential in that race. They both finished with 58 and 59 points, so they were definitely winning lineup type guys. I believe I posted the perfect lineup from that race. And where was it here? Briscoe and Chastain were both in there in the low to mid 6K range. And that was the other thing I wanted to mention here today when looking at the matrix. And we always talk about calculating your 4, 5, 6 X value on DraftKings. What I'm looking at today is about it's going to be about 350 375 DK points for the win of a GPP. So we're looking at about 7 to 8x tops, because we did see earlier this year 6.6x and 6.9x, but this race has a few more laps, so I think we can see a few more points there. But generally 4x is going to be fine for a lot of these guys. So when you're looking, don't just try and calculate. That's why I added into the matrix this week, because I think 6.5 to 7.5x is going to get us there as a GPP winner. But getting in just into cash, I think like 4 to 5x is going to be fine. Like your overall lineup at 5x, I think will cash in a GPP. Like a min cash is right around there. So keep that in mind today, that it is a little bit shorter of a race in terms of number of laps. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm a little higher, like I said, on Briscoe just because of the price, but both of them performed very well coming through the field at Coda. So I don't think there's as much worry as I let on there at the start. Who else are you looking
Yes,
at?
Chastain needs a 13th place finish basically for 6x, which I think is definitely doable.
Yeah.
So I think I'll definitely be on him. Other guys in this range, I'll kind of let you talk about Almirola. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on him. I've not looked at your rankings or anything, but I'm kind of wishy washy on him, just really because the way his years went.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll let you go on him. I'm not really sold either way. I'm kind of leaning underweight at this point, with still a little bit of exposure in the 20 max. Other guys I do like in this range when you get down here. Eric Jones, I like. Obviously, he was in better equipment when he finished 7th and 8th here, but starting 18th, I think he's a fine play. Down here, Ryan Preece is another guy, 27th. He's been starting 27th. He's been pretty good on road courses recently as well. Newman is a guy that is going to be interesting for me because he's been pretty good here. I don't have all the finishes from this year road courses in front of me, but I don't think he's been very good. Where is Newman finished this year on road courses?
I am just looking at that now. And
I think now I'm looking.
24th and 20th.
Yeah, so not anything special. So there's guys around him. If he does that again, I don't know if it was. I've not really dug back into his performance at those tracks to see if he ran around there all day or
he ran about 22nd on both of them and actually picked up double-digit place differential in both of them, which is what give him 36 and 28 DK points. So really nothing special for his price. But it feels safe. It feels safe is all.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the safer guys down here, starting 24th, and 6,300 is the main reason he's going to be popular to go along with the track history, which goes back a couple of years to start. But obviously, he's ran well here in the past. But he's another guy that I'm kind of leaning underweight just because of the current form on road courses. I don't know if it's something with the team this year or what it is, but if he's going to be mega chalk, I know he starts 24th, but I think there's guys around him that can outscore him a little bit higher and a little bit lower even, have the potential to. But kind of going back to what I was saying about maybe jamming the mid-range and going a little more balanced, I don't even know if you would have to get to him in those type builds unless you're playing two of the very top guys.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to Newman, I agree with everything you said. We talked about this in chat before that NASCAR is one of the best sports out there to really take a chalk play, especially a value chalk play that has a lot of variance because there's so much variance in NASCAR to begin with penalties, crashes, rain. You just name all the things that can happen during a race. Taking a guy that's going to be the highest owned, say sub 7,500, and pivoting to someone that's half the ownership. Talk about it every week. NASCAR is a great sport for that. So I'm not going to be fading Newman because of it, but I'm definitely with you that if he's going to be, let's say 20 to 30% in GPPs, I'm going to be underweight and probably pivot a lot of spots away from him. One of them, I like going a little bit cheaper. We didn't discuss it yet, but I know we're both on him, is Anthony Alfredo at 5,800. We always seem to be on Alfredo this year. His price never really seems to go up, and especially at this road course, we're only looking for, as you can see on the matrix here, 23 to 29 points for a 4 to 5x return. And if I slide over and look at what that gives us, I don't think it quite shows up on the screen here, but what we're looking at is a 24th all the way up to a 21st place finish. That's totally doable for him. If we look at how he's done so far this year, 18th and 22nd, starting 37th and 31st. So he's been very solid. I think he was in the winning lineup at COTA as well, because he finished with 44 points at that price tag. So he's one of my favorites. I'm probably going to be going more to him than Newman. One, he's cheaper. Two, he's probably going to be lower owned, even though he's not going to be like 10% owned or anything. I think he's still going to be lower owned than Newman. Just people looking at Newman's, 3 top 10s in his last 5 races here and top 15s in 6 of his last 7 at this track. So that's definitely one route I'm going. I'm with you on Jones starting 18th.
Yeah, one note on Alfredo, he is going to the rear today. Bob tweeted that out, and his crew chief is ejected. So I don't know if what that changes for you. I think more than going to the rear, I might even worry about the crew chief deal more than him just going to the rear.
Crew chief or car chief? I think
crew chief Seth Barber ejected for.
Okay. Yeah, then we're talking strategy. I mean, road courses, you're always talking strategy. So that's going to be key for sure. That'll be something to watch. Maybe that takes me a little bit more underweight. I mean, starting 28th, he came from 37th at COTA and finished 18th. So I don't think moving to the rear really affects my exposure as much as, like you said, the crew chief being ejected and not having
Right.
him. Although he can still communicate with someone through phone or text or whatever. He's out of the track. He's not at the track exactly, but he'll be communicating with someone in terms of strategy. So maybe not. I don't think I'm actually going to affect my exposure at all. Not that I was going to be overweight on him or anything. In a 20 max, I'm probably only looking at maybe 3 or 4, having him in 3 or 4 in my lineups. And I'd probably, if I have Newman in 3, I'd probably have Alfredo in 4 to 5. Is kind of the way I'm looking at those value guys.
Yep.
Oh,
I
also,
agree.
I wanted to give a shout out to whoever the thumbs down guy was that gave me the thumbs down on the video. Like before I even started talking, Dane, you weren't even on here. I hadn't even started talking and I already got a thumbs down. Like, geez, it's like you just logged in just to thumbs down me. I hope you're still here, by the way. And if you are, I can't believe you thumbs down, then stuck around. That's key right there. If you could
We
get
just
multiple thumbs
gotta
down, it would definitely be coming.
we just gotta flip the thumb. I
Yeah,
mean, before the gotta give it the Phil Mickelson thumbs up. I mean,
yeah.
come on.
Let's go from down and just turn it up. Exactly. All right, moving on. Some of these mid-tier guys, someone I wanted to ask you about, I know you're high on today, Christopher Bell. I am as well. Obviously, he's got odds to win. Like, he's got better odds to win right now than Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch. He's right around that range with Alex Bowman. But I'm definitely on there starting 20th. I think we could see, top 10, top 5 potential upside. So there's huge upside there at that price at 8,400. And he hasn't raced here at this track, but going back, I was looking at his road courses from the Xfinity series. And of course, the page is loading. And there we've got Bell. I know he's got a win. I forget which track, so I'm just going to check that out here. He's got 3 road course races. Mid-Ohio in 2019, he finished second. Elkhart Lake in 2019 as well. He won that race, starting from the 12th position, and then finished the Charlotte Road. He finished 12th. Wasn't that great in that one, but he is a pretty good, I would say, above average road course racer in great
Yeah.
equipment, great price, and place differential. So I would see him probably as a top 5 owned player driver today. But I'm still going to have probably about, I'd say, average, about 20-30% of him.
Yeah, I really like him as well. Even if you look back, obviously he won the Daytona race, and I'm willing to throw out the Coda race a little bit. But if you go back to last year at Charlotte, he had the average run position of 11th and finished 24th. So kind of ran a little bit bad there. And then he was 15th run average run at the at Daytona road course last year, obviously in worse equipment. And so that's good to see that he was running top 15 before he was even in this equipment. So, yeah, I really like him for place differential. That's one of the guys that I mentioned in the mid-range that I'm going to be fairly heavy on. 8,400 starting 20th is definitely good with me for Christopher Bell this week.
And then right below him, Liz asks about Matty D. He's got less place differential upside. I want to go look at his road courses this season to really see how it went. He hasn't been great here whatsoever.
No, and
Shadow. Yeah,
so
even this year, he's just not road course guy. He's just not someone I look at on road courses. 23rd at Coda and crashed out at Daytona Road. 37th, started 32nd there.
yeah, so like an interesting nugget with him, I was listening. He has a podcast I think he does with Ryan Ellis. So I listened to a few minutes of that earlier this week, and he was actually talking about his road course stuff. They don't like the setups when they get to road courses, so that almost instantly made me. I didn't even know where he was starting yet. I mean, that was early this week, and he said that, and I was like, man, I don't want people that don't have confidence when
Right.
they get to these types of tracks. So I'm kind of off of him for sure.
Right on. Yeah, I am too. Not even as a pivot off of Bell, to be honest with you. If I'm going to be pivoting off the Bell ownership, I'm probably looking at going up to Bowman. In terms of like a GPP pivot, Bowman was one that finished top 10 in both road courses this year. As you can see, he's struggled. Let's scroll back over. He struggled in his first 2 races. I should have had the year up here at the top, but it was a while back. Not even sure if he was in the 88 car for that 29th and 31st place finish, but top 15s with the top 10. 2019 and 2018 here. He's starting 7th. I think a lot of people will maybe be going away from him just because of Harvick and Busch right above him. and then like Christopher Bell right below him. So he's kind of sandwiched in between, where I think he's going to be extremely low owned. The Chevys have been fast lately, and road courses this year, like I said, top tens. He's shown some advancement here at Sonoma, although it's been 2 years since he's been here. But I'm definitely on Bowman as my pivot in this range, 100%.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely off Brad. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's going to get at 8,500, and I just don't like him this week. If he was a place differential guy starting in like 20th, sure. But if he's going to be popular starting 9th, I don't like him very much on road courses. And I know he's going to get some traction at that price. So I will fade him and go to Bell below, and then up to Harvick. Who I'll be interested to see his ownership. I think you're starting to get two camps with him. Some that are fine to keep playing him over and over, and then you got guys who are kind of out on him as a whole for the year. But yeah, he's really good at road courses. Starting 8th for 8,900. I mean, that's the big thing for me. If he was in the upper 9s starting 8th, I would maybe think twice about it. But Harvick, I really like him. I'll be pretty heavy on him and Kurt right there at 91 and 8,900. So that's one of the reasons I don't want to lock myself into a bunch of bills that I'm jamming 2 to 3 of the top guys. I'll obviously still have quite a bit of exposure to 2 people in those builds, but I really like that range right there around 9,000. What's your take on Almirola? I know we kind of mentioned him earlier, but
Puke emoji. Seriously though, he's just
yeah,
been. He's had top tens at Sonoma in 2018 and 2019, but this year is just. I can't even explain it. Even when he gives you that, we've been on him so many times and discussed it. Just he keeps giving you that place differential. And he just keeps getting drawn to that number at the price that he's at. But road courses, he started 26th at both of them this year. Finished 17th and 26th, which was only good for 35 points. Wasn't bad at Daytona Road, but 23 points isn't going to get it done. What's his price here? He was right in that 7,900. So yeah, we're looking. If I'm just jumping over to the matrix here, at 7,900, we need 31 to 40 points, and that's a 19th to 15th. I mean, it's definitely doable. Um, I'm going to be underweight for sure. I don't think it's a full fade for me, but I'll be underweight, and I think he's going to take on some ownership. So that's probably the best discussion today. Is Kurt Busch starting 30th and Eric Almirola starting 26th. I think they're both going to be high owned, and looking at JP also thinks so. Looking at some projections here, he's saying Kurt is in that 40% range. I think Almirola maybe in the 30% range, whereas you have Bowman like 17. So I love this range, or like you talked about the 9K range. The 9K range is a place I love pivoting, and I love today pivoting off of Kurt Busch and Eric Almirola in GPP just because they haven't been great. They're going to be high owned, and they give you that place differential that's going to draw people to them. That's kind of why I think they're going to be high owned, especially Almirola. It's only 7,900. So I'll make my pivots there. I like going with McDowell starting 21st, kind of as a pivot there. You talked about Chastain. I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned as well. He's going to be close to Almirola, just starting 29th, but people looking at maybe he finished 33rd in his only trip here. But although that was 2 years ago, I think he'll be a little bit lower that way, because I think we're going to see the Truex and Elliott. I think we're going to see a lot of lineups with Truex and Elliott. Someone we didn't talk about, and now I have to ask you, is Denny Hamlin. He's been tremendous here, top 5s in 3 of his last 4, top 10s in 4 straight. Starting 4th, though, is he someone that you would pivot to in GPP?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned he would be maybe my 3rd guy in that
Okay.
range. But I'm not really sold on any of them. I think I would go to him though over Logano. It's very close, so they would be 3 and 4 for sure. So yeah, Hamlin, he's ran decent at road courses so far this year. I mean, he was not very good at Coda, but he average run 4th, finished 3rd at Daytona. Yeah, I mean, he's been good here in the past as well. So I think Hamlin would be my 3rd guy up top for sure.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry, you go.
What do you think about Larson? He's not been good at road courses. Obviously, the car has been good, but I mean, it's a completely different setup. I guess. Starting on the pole with the best road course racer in the series right beside him is kind of my downfall to him. But he is a lot cheaper than he has been, and if they can keep the momentum up, I guess he could pay off and lead. But I don't see him leading over Chase, and he would have to lead early to pay off. So what do you think there?
Yeah, I'm on Chase leading early, like lap one, getting ahead of him. Um,
Yeah,
and if Larson doesn't lead laps, at 9,700, it's doable. Like, let's just see here. To get, we'll probably need five, going up into this top tier, probably looking for 5x out of him, which he needs to lead laps to hit 5x because 45 is his cap if he doesn't get any Dominator points. So even to get 4x with no Dominator points today, that's a third place finish just for 4x. So, and if you think, again, this is just our opinions, but if you think Larson's going to lead early, he's going to hold off Elliott and lead up to the competition caution at lap 10, maybe even the end of the first stage and get those 20 to 25 laps led, then Larson's the play. But then you can't play Elliott, in my opinion. You kind of have to choose, I think, between those two, who you think's going to get the early laps led, because I don't think it's going to switch. So if you take them both off, you got Elliott and Larson. I'm just looking at it here. Elliott needs 52 and a half points. Yeah, same thing for Elliott is if they don't lead and be dominators today, then you're going to be lower on your value and they're not going to be in the winning lineup. So it's one of the two for me, and I've already settled on Elliott as the early leader, so I'm probably full fading Larson here.
yeah, I agree.
I could make him with Elliott being so awesome on road courses, and I think everyone's thinking the same thing, that Elliott's going to get out front early. If you're looking for, like, I don't know what the exact projected ownership's going to be for Larson or where it falls, but if you think he's going to be like 5% owned, 8% owned, and like the lowest owned in this top range because of what we just talked about, I wouldn't be afraid to put one or two lineups into a GPP and build it and fade Elliott, because if that goes right and happens and Elliott doesn't end up in the winning lineup, Larson becomes the dominator, you're probably looking at a solo win, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be building that way.
Right. Yeah. So one last thing on Kurt, because I really like him today. I'm gonna try to be even overweight on him. Starting, I know he's going to be popular, but I really like the way that he's ran at road courses this year. So I don't know that I can get away from it. I mean, he was average run was 12th at Coda, and he obviously finished. But he ran pretty well at Daytona. Average run 9. Charlotte last year, ninth at Daytona last year. He's consistently been a car that's a top 10 car at road courses. And if things fall his way towards the end, I mean, he's getting top 5 finishes. So starting 30th, just the floor that gives you. Obviously, it's NASCAR. Things can happen. But I think I'll be heavy on him today.
Okay, fine. I'm sold. I'm sold. You talked about that average run position on all these road courses. That makes a ton of sense. And honestly, a top 5 finish, like just finishing 5th with no Dominator points, is 64 points. You're looking at 7-8x from him, and he's most definitely got that upside. He's won here before. But his average run of about 9th between all these last 3 or 4 road courses, a 9th place gives him 56 points, which is still over 6x. So we're looking at some big upside from Kurt there. He would have to be probably 50 to 60% owned for me to fade. It's a tough one, but I think that floor that it gives you for sure. Cash games, he's 100%. You got to lock him in. He'd be my number one cash play today. Even if you're looking at FanDuel, he's 8,500 on FanDuel, right around guys that are 10,000, 10,500, 11,000, 11,500, 9,500. He's pretty much a lock on FanDuel as well. So go Kurt Busch today. Monster Energy. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been painful playing in this year. He's kind of been up and down a little bit, like Almirola, not to that extent, but I just can't get away from him today. We had a couple thoughts come into the chat.
One thing I wanted to ask you while you're scrolling through that, early on, had asked if you're looking at James Davison. I know he's a road course guy, but he's starting 32nd. He's got an average finish of 28th on 4 road course races in the Cup Series, and like an average DK of like 23, and kind of around that same starting position. So for myself, I'm I think I'm more on Alfredo, but I'm just going to jump over the matrix here real quick and just look at it. Yeah, for 4X, we're looking at 22 points, which really is only a 26th place finish. I think that's possible for him. His upside, we're kind of looking at, we need like a 23rd, 22nd, somewhere in there, 20th to 23rd to really hit that top upside. I think that is there. I just think the chances of it happening are very slim. I just like Alfredo a little bit more, and I think Alfredo is going to be a little bit lower owned now going to the rear.
Yeah, I'll make it simple. My thoughts there. I'm not playing anybody. I will have exposure to nobody starting 31st on back. So from Ben Rhodes to the rear, I won't have any exposure.
All right, and then you seen someone else in chat that had asked a question?
Yeah, Franchise Field says Truex worries him a little bit today. So I'm not really sure why. So I would be interested to see that. But
yeah, throw that up in chat for sure and let us know what worries you, and we'll kind of look into it a little bit here. Because for me, it's simple. Place differential is not hard to get here. We've seen it in both the road course races this year. Guys coming from 20th, outside 30th. 10 drivers with double-digit place differential is pretty huge in terms of looking at the whole scope of all the tracks and stuff. So I'm not worried about him starting back. The upside is just huge. The floor is huge. Him starting 19th, and like I talked about, he doesn't even need to lead any laps, and he can get more points than Elliott winning the race if Elliott doesn't lead up, upwards of his 40. So if Elliott was to lead 30, maybe get 15 fast laps, Truex still gets more points finishing first than Elliott does being a dominator. So I really like it. Bad luck lately. That's, definitely form coming in can play a part of it. That's kind of one thing that gives him that place differential, obviously, with the new formula, is that bad luck. So I can definitely see that. I'm just going to go look at his form here. Yeah, most recently it's been terrible. After his win at Darlington, he went 19th at Dover after finishing on the pole there. Started 17th at Coda, finished 35th, got caught up in that wreck, and then started 8th at Charlotte and finished 29th. So I can definitely see that. But form would be the only thing that worries me.
Correct. Yep. And I'm willing to overlook it with it's not, I know the last few races have not been very good, but it's not like they've not shown speed all year long or anything like that. Right. It's just kind of a thing the last few weeks. So I'm willing to it for him going to one of his favorite tracks on the circuit.
Now, Rex, I'm just pulling up Sonoma here on Racing Reference.
Like 50% on, but
right. I had someone ask about Rex here on Sonoma, so I'm just pulling up some Racing Reference data on the last two races. Just kind of look at caution laps and stuff like that. I think they list that. Yeah, caution at the 2019 Sonoma race, there was only 2 cautions for 6 laps, so really not a whole bunch there whatsoever. And then in 2018, there was only 3 cautions. So this seems like a very low caution race, I guess you could say. Less than 10 laps of caution the whole time, and it's also a road course, so if guys are sliding off the track, they give them a certain amount of time to get back going, so they're not going to throw a lot of cautions too. So that data maybe isn't the best to compare with other tracks, because they throw cautions quite quick when there is someone that goes off track, obviously on a 1.5 mile or short track or anything like that. So it is a little bit different with the road course how they run that, but I guess it all depends. Do you think there's going to be a lot of bumping and stuff like that today?
It's kind of on road courses. They've been running here for years, so I know we've had a couple of the like Coda and even Daytona. They've not been there many years. We've seen a little bit of craziness, but like you mentioned, this has not been a wild race as far as cautions. The time you're going to see cautions is on restarts for the most part. If we get one near the end of the race, you're going to see them then. But unless cars just have trouble, you're not, once things get spread out a little bit, you're not seeing many cautions. And that's why there's not been many here. So yeah, that just makes me like guys like Truex even more that have the speed and are starting near the back, Kurt Busch, things like that. If they can stay away from Rex, they have massive place differential upside. And then I saw we had a question about Buescher. Yeah, he's been pretty good at road courses for sure. 11th and 13th this year so far, and he's looked decent here in the past as well. 16th, 12th, 19th, and on top of that, he comes in some fair form as well.
Mm-hmm.
We've been kind of riding him the last month or so. Just the way that car, I mean, he's had races, he runs right around 10th. It feels like right inside the top 10, just outside the top 10 a lot of the race. So, we didn't mention him, but I think he's a fine pivot down there. Starting 12th, I think can get a little bit of lower ownership on him compared to some of the guys around him. So let's see who's he's probably going to be, I would think, around 10%. I mean, I don't see him getting any higher than that. And the guys around him are going to be more Briscoe, Priest. Eric Jones might be a little higher. McDowell and Chastain a little higher will definitely have more ownership. I know you like McDowell. So what are your thoughts on Buescher and McDowell? I know we haven't really touched on him yet.
I like Buescher a lot. First of all, like you said, he's got form. This season almost reminds me, I think it was 2019 season for him, where his price never really left that 7K range. And I had calculated that season. I built a sheet looking at DK points and price for every single race. Haven't had time this year to put that together, but I remember doing that, and he was consistently a top 5 points per dollar play week in and week out, it seemed like, on the course of the season, just always overperforming his the equipment that he was in, and he just always give us that 5x return. And this really feels like that kind of season because he's stuck at 7,200. He's been decent on the road courses. He's been decent here. And really, at 7,200, we're looking at 29 to 36 points for 4 to 5x. That is a 13th to 10th place finish. And I think that is totally doable for him. I think that's a good floor. And I think we've also got that upside. Like for 43 points to give him that 6x, we're really only looking at about a 7th place finish. I think that's very doable out of him. I know 12th is the best he's done here before, but he's also having a better season, I think, than in seasons past. Even better than that 2019 season that I had talked about, just in terms of consistency. Now in that 17 car. Now, something I wanted to ask you, we didn't touch on, and I can't find my notes where I had it, was Sonoma using the bus stop. I believe there was it 2018 or 2019 they had removed that, or the carousel. Sorry, it was the carousel they call it there. They removed it for 1 season or 2 seasons. Do you have any information on that at all? I can't
I
find
do.
it here real off the top of my head. I'm not worried
No,
about it, but I'm
yeah.
just kind of bringing that up. But no Blaney chat yet. Liz says, I was on and off with Blaney all morning. I think he makes another pivot off of Kurt Busch if you want to go away from that. He's starting 11th. He finished 3rd here in 2019, 9th in 2017. He got caught up in a wreck in 2018. So he's been solid here. It's just he just hasn't been consistent. So definitely GPP only for me. Like looking at his road courses, if I could spell his name right in my search. He's got 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s in his last 7 races. This year specifically started 9th at COTA, 17th finish, which was a disaster. Started 27th at Daytona, finished 15th, which gave him 40 DK points because of that 12 double-digit place differential there. So that definitely worked out for him. So it's going to be GPP only for me. I just kind of looking for a top 10, and the chances of a top 10, I think, are just a lot lower than some of these other guys. And like you had mentioned earlier, if you're going Elliott, or like I am with Logano, and probably mixing a Truex and Elliott with like a Logano in there, and then Kurt Busch, I'm probably going to be skipping the rest of that range and going down. So Blaney's just off of my exposure list as of now. How about yourself?
So I think your pivot in that range would be is Bowman. You mentioned.
Yes.
I think would be Blaney,
Okay.
but again, I won't have much exposure to him as well because I'm going to have a lot of Kurt and Harvick. But Blaney would definitely be my pivot to those two in that range. I do think he has the upside. He's shown here in the past, at least, to be around the 5th place finish. I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but I do think he's got top 10 upside for sure. So he would be my pivot, and kind of what you're hoping for there is that Kurt has problems if you're not pairing them together, or Harvick.
Yep.
He can outscore Harvick pretty much by just finishing
The
one
same.
spot by something.
Yep,
So
exactly.
I mean, he could definitely do that. So he would be my pivot in that range over Bowman.
Awesome. Yeah. So um, that range is awesome. Like I had mentioned before, we just mentioned two guys that are going to be super high owned, and Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick, and then two guys that are going to be a lot less
Yeah.
owned and great pivots in Blaney and Bowman. So there's kind of how we look at that range there. But then again, I just want to mention on DraftKings, Kurt Busch is massively underpriced. If you're playing FanDuel and you're only playing one lineup, you got to have Kurt Busch in there. If you're playing three lineups, I'm probably going to have Kurt Busch 100% on FanDuel. I'm probably only going to play three lineups on FanDuel today, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be in all of them. All right.
Yep.
Just going to kind of scan. In terms of betting today, I think the betting market is a little tough just because you've got Elliott. He's plus 180. Plus 180 to win this. So the only real bet that I like that I put money on today, I don't mind taking Truex at plus 350. I think that's a pretty good number for him winning each of the last two races here at Sonoma. It's going to be tough coming from the 19th position is all, but the betting market's tough. The only other guy, if you're going down the board, Logano stands out to me at plus 1400. I always seem to be betting on Logano, Dane. I don't know what it is. I don't even really like him as a driver. But like I just been talking about him all show, how consistent he's been on the road courses this year. He hasn't been great here. Top fives going back to 2016 and 2015. He hasn't been great here recently. Plus 14 stands out, and Harvick plus 1600 if you're going down the board. But is there anyone you're looking at in terms of betting? Again, I only get pick the winner. I don't get matchups or anything. I know Ryan mentioned in chat in Canada we can go to Bet 99. I think it's called. Ryan, if you're in chat, throw that out there again. But I think it's Bet 99, and we can do driver matchups and all that sort of stuff that you get to do. So I'll be looking into that going forward into next week.
Yeah, there's a couple actually a little bit longer shots that I do like having a sprinkle of as far as betting, and that's Harvick. I'm seeing 18 to 1 on draft, and Christopher Bell at 30 to 1 is another one that I like there.
Awesome.
If I was going top of the board, it's tough if you had to pick between Chase and Truex. I don't think I'm going to have a bet on either of them today at 4 to 1 and 2.25 to 1. It's not something that I want to do with, the variance that we could have in a road course race a little bit as far as just it's different. If one of those wins, so be it. I'm not going to be on it, but 18 to 1 Harvick and 30 to 1 Bell would be my two that I'm going to sprinkle on for betting.
Awesome. And then one last thing I wanted to look at, getting back on the prize picks train here. Going to be doing more content with prize picks again going forward, getting things sorted out. And I got an announcement after. I just have a couple picks here for that. So first of all, we've got Kurt Busch at 27.5 is his line in prize picks. And if we look at, I've got a tab here looking at the prize picks scoring. 27.5 means Kurt needs a 13th place or better. So I definitely like the over there. That's something I will probably lock in. Another one, Eric Jones is at 23 is very, very interesting. That's an 18th place or better. 18th would be break even. 17th or better would be a win on the over of that one. So I definitely like that. And then a third bet that I like in here would be Alex Bowman at 31. And that is a 10th or better. So a top 10 for Bowman in there. So those would be three prize picks that I like. Now, one thing we've announced this in chat, we've announced it in our Patreon. We are making a transition for the business with Patreon. Unfortunately, RotoPros is shutting down at the end of June. So I've brought on Dane, Kenny, and Ryan over to my Patreon moving forward starting July 1st. Kenny and Dane are already in the chat providing info. Dane's been in there for a couple of weeks now. So definitely hit him up in DM. We've got all the information posted in Patreon. So we got a lot going forward, a lot of content coming in terms of videos. Not just this video that's public to everyone that's out there that can see it, but we're going to have a lot of members only videos, strategy videos, tutorials on the sheets, pretty much anything you guys want and see or anything you want to see. Hit us up, and we're just going to try and provide as much content as possible going forward. We've introduced tennis sheets. Dane's been absolutely crushing these new sports. We're going to bring LOL back. Ryan and Kenny are going to cover that, so we're going to get those sheets going again. We got a ton going on. So go over to patreon.com/Jagerbombs. Up until July 1st, you can lock in the current pricing, which is $5 per sport, or for one sport per month, or $10 per sport per month. You can lock those prices in if you sign up for a yearly membership. Things are going up as of July 1st. So you've got about 3 weeks now to go ahead and switch. If you're already a member, switch that over and you can lock that in. It's actually, instead of locking these current prices in, it's actually $100. Locking in the current prices would be $120 for all sports. We're going to do it for $100 leading up till the end of June. So get it over to patreon.com/AgriBombs and let's crush it together. Any last words, Dane?
Yeah, I think that's kind of just the biggest thing for us right now is this transition. And feel free, anybody in the chat, to reach out if you think there's anything we could be doing a little different. We're always open to suggestions, and I know all 4 of us are always in there to answer questions on any of the sports we cover. I think one of the big things that we're going to push for in the next few months is those short videos. You've been doing them for baseball previews early in the day. I'm going to start doing them for soccer. Euros start next Saturday, so that's going to be a big one. There's some big contests already out there. I think there's like a $20 with $100K to first already posted out there, so that's going to be massive. We've been doing some of the international friendly showdowns just to get ready for it a little bit.
Get familiar.
So that's going to be big. Teams or players are going from their club teams in that off season to the national teams and getting acclimated with each other again. So it's going to be an awesome start there starting Saturday. So I'm going to try to do some of those shows. And obviously we're going to keep doing the NASCAR ones and things like that. So feel free to hit us up if you think there's anything you want to see or things like that. Any questions?
Right on. Well, I don't see any more questions. I just posted in chat here, so I'll give that just a couple of seconds. Ricky is 10. Okay. We didn't even talk about Ricky. The fate of Ricky definitely worked last week.
Yeah.
And he finished 12th, which was good, but again, 25 DK points. It just, the math wasn't there, so I was happy with fading him. This week, I don't know. It's starting 14th is probably a little too far forward for me.
I mean, he's cheap, but
yeah,
he's not one for me. I was going to look at his road course stuff. He's not been great at Sonoma in the past, and he's kind of been a 20th place or even higher car at road courses this year and into last year. So as far as his speed, so that's not for me this week. If he was starting like where Newman is starting, it might be a conversation. If he was starting where Chastain, anybody like that, even Alfredo, I mean, if he was in the mid-20s, it'd be an option. But starting 14th, I think he's a 20th place car. So that's not going to win you a GPP.
Oh, Liz says add the horses.
Add the horses.
Yep. We're we've been talking about it, adding this horse racing stuff. So I'm going to try and put together, if there's data that I can put into a cheat sheet to help us research, we are 100% game on getting some horse racing stuff going because it's really fun. Kentucky Derby was pretty new to me. I'm going to admit I'm just a noob completely when it comes to horse racing, but you give me data in a spreadsheet and I can pretty much put anything together. So that's definitely on our radar. And then lastly, Truman 86 asks, Cole Custer on your radar today, sneaky top 15. Definitely could. He's got the equipment. That's someone we did not talk about starting 23rd. And if he got 15th, that would be excellent because then we'd be looking at just got to scroll down and find him here. A 15th place finish for him gives him 36 points, which is right in that 5X range. So I think that's totally doable, and he's going to be super low owned.
Yeah, I'll definitely have exposure. I hate we didn't mention him because he is a guy that I like starting 23rd. He ran pretty well at Daytona earlier this year and Charlotte at the end of last year. So it looked like he was turning the corner a little bit on road courses. So, yeah, I'll definitely have exposure to him. He could be a pivot off of guys like Chastain or things like that. Reddick is kind of similar as far as he's never been here before. Last guy I wanted to mention, but he's a complete fade for me, starting 10th. I don't know that he's ever been here. Has he even ever been here in Xfinity or anything?
I deleted that off my screen.
I've seen if he's had any history here, but starting 10th is not for me. At 8,000, if he was lower, maybe, but he's a fade for me too.
Awesome. All right. Well, that takes care of everyone. takes care of everyone's questions. It takes care of our strategy, our core plays, value bets. Thank you all for tuning in. We very much appreciate it. We got, like I said, a lot more coming down the line. If you got any questions leading up to lineup lock at, I believe we got an hour now, something like that, until hour and 8 minutes or so until lineups lock. So I'm going to go crunch some lineups. You got questions? We are still in the Roto Pro Slack chat up until the end of the month, so you can hit us up there. Patreon, I have a Slack chat there. We will be switching to Discord at the end of this month. I will be leaving the Slack chat open probably for a month or two to help people transition over if they've never used Discord before. It's just much more user friendly. So hit us up there, or dfsr.com. I am in there up until lock, and twitter.com. I am at Jaeger_bombs9, and you are?
At Red Stag 007.
Right on, everyone. Thanks a lot, and have a good day.